Good morning, everyone. I invite you to take a moment to enter into a space of rest, meditation, and quiet contemplation as we enter this service with the ringing of the gong and listening to the prelude. Good morning, welcome. Welcome to Olympia Brown Unitarian Universalist Church. Welcome to everyone here in person and everyone joining us on YouTube, both now and in the future. I am Carolyn Churchill. My pronouns are she, hers. Our welcome words are from Alex Riley. It is good to be together in this co-created sacred space where all are welcome. How you experience or express gender is welcome here. Who or how you love is welcome here. Where you are from and where you are in your journey is welcome here. Whether you come full of energy or find yourself running on empty, you are welcome here. You are a part of a beloved community that is sacred because each of us is sacred. Each of us is always held in a larger love. It is good to be together.
Good morning. I'm the Reverend Dr. Matthew Johnson. I'm your primary contact with the Unitarian Universalist Association. I'm based in Rockford, Illinois, where I served that church for many years, and now I support congregations like yours across the Midwest, and it's good to be back with you. I have worshiped with you a couple of times over the years. Morgan McLean was my intern when I was minister in Rockford, and I came to her ordination over there, and I was here for Danielle's installation as your minister in this space, and remember being here for then. So it's good to be back with you this morning. My pronouns are he, him, his. And our words for our chalice lighting, well, we have a chalice lighter. Cody is going to light our chalice. Thank you, Cody. And our words for our chalice lighting come from the Reverend Dr. Rebecca Parker, who wrote, "Your gifts, whatever you discover them to be, can be used to bless or curse the world. The mind's power, the strength of the hands, the reaches of the heart, the gift of speaking, listening, imagining, seeing, waiting, any of these can serve to feed the hungry, bind up wounds, welcome the stranger, praise what is sacred, do the work of justice, or offer love. Any of these can draw down the prison door, hoard bread, abandon the poor, obscure what is holy, comply with injustice, or withhold love. You must answer this question. What will you do with your gifts? Choose to bless the world. None of us alone can save the world together. That is another possibility, waiting. We're going to sing together, Answering the Call of Love, which is 1014 in your teal hymnal. And I don't know if you already know this, maybe you do. If you have an eagle eye, you'll notice that the title in the hymnal is different than the title I just said and is in the order of service. In the hymnal it says, Standing on the Side of Love, which was the original name and in the chorus of this song, 1014. But The songwriter eventually was persuaded to change the lyrics for two reasons. One is that we don't all stand as a way to express our commitment, right? That it's a metaphor that is only for particular kinds of bodies. And second, in some ways more importantly, is that standing on the side is like, we are already there. We're the right ones, we won. Whereas answering the call is an invitation to keep on the journey. That it's not something we've already done, but is work that is ongoing, which is more theologically appropriate. So, wherever it says standing on the side, I want you to sing answering the call. It's the same number of syllables, so you have no problem. And I'll invite you to rise in body and or in spirit, and we're going to sing together.
And now it's time for the message for all ages. So if all the children and those young at heart can come on forward. Good morning. This morning, I am reading the book Sheila Ray the Brave by Kevin Henkes. Have any of you ever read this before? Yes, you? By the same author? Okay. Some of the authors' other books? Yeah, it's a popular story, so I thought maybe some of you might have read it before. So Sheila Ray wasn't afraid of anything. She wasn't afraid of the dark. She wasn't afraid of thunder and lightning. And she wasn't afraid of the big black dog at the end of the block. At dinner, Sheila Ray made believe that the cherries in her fruit cocktail were the eyes of dead bears, and she ate 5 of them. At school, Sheila Ray giggled when the principal walked by. And when her classmate Wendell stole her jump rope during recess, Sheila Ray tied him up until the bell rang. I am very brave, Sheila Ray said, patting herself on the back. Sheila Ray stepped on every crack in the sidewalk without fear. When her sister Louise said there was a monster in the closet, Sheila Ray attacked it. So look at Louise there. Do you see Louise? She's got the funny little hair at the top. That's important. So remember her little hair, okay? And she rode her bicycle no-handed with her eyes closed. Yay, yay, Sheila Ray, her friends yelled, clapping their hands. One day, Sheila Ray decided to walk home from school a new way. Louise was afraid to. You're too brave for me, Louise said. You're always such a scaredy cat, Sheila Ray called. Am not, whispered Louise. Sheila Ray started off skipping. I'm brave, she sang. I'm fearless. She stepped on every crack. She walked backwards with her eyes closed. She growled at stray dogs, and she bared her teeth at stray cats. And she pretended that the trees were evil creatures, and so she climbed up them and broke their fingers off. Snap, snap, snap. Sheila Ray walked and walked. Do you see the little hair behind the car at the top? She turned corners. She crossed streets. So who's following her? Her sister's following her, right? It suddenly occurred to Sheila Ray that nothing looked familiar. Sheila Ray heard frightening noises. They sounded worse than thunder. Do you see Louise hiding? She thought terrible thoughts. They were worse than anything she had ever imagined. I'm brave, Sheila Ray tried to convince herself. I'm fearless. The sounds became more frightening. The thoughts became more horrible. Sheila Ray sat down on a rock and cried. Help, she sniffed. She thought of her mother and her father and Louise. Mother, father, Louise, she cried. Do you see Louise up in the tree? Here I am, a voice said. Louise, Sheila Ray hugged her sister. We're lost, Sheila Ray said. No, we're not, said Louise. I know the way home. Follow me. Oh, did I miss a picture? Oh, there she is. Louise stepped on every crack. Now Louise is stepping on cracks. Louise walked backwards with her eyes closed. She growled at stray dogs and bared her teeth at stray cats. And she pretended that the trees were evil creatures. She jumped up and broke their fingers off. Snap, snap, snap. Sheila Ray walked quietly behind her. They walked and walked. They crossed streets. They turned corners. Do you see Louise leading the way this time? Soon, their house could be seen between the trees. Sheila Ray grabbed Louise and dashed up the street. When they reached their own yard and the gate were closed behind them, Sheila Ray said, Louise, you are brave. You are fearless. We both are, said Louise. And they walked backwards into the house with their eyes closed. So sometimes, even if other people don't think you're brave, you probably still are, right? Okay, it's time for the children's blessing. Ready? We are blessed. We are blessed by being. We are blessed by being here. We are blessed by being here together.
There are many ways we give to the life of the church, and the monetary offering is just one of these ways. Each month, we partner with a local organization and share the money we collect. Our partner for May is the Racine Public Library Foundation. The Racine Public Library Foundation Board conducts fundraising campaigns, seeks major gifts, and secures grants to support the library's mission and long-range plans. This includes cultivating donors, running capital campaigns, and building endowments. The board helps ensure the library has adequate resources for future needs, technology upgrades, building improvements, new services, or special programs. They complement, but not replace, municipal funding. The board members act as ambassadors for the library, strengthening community relationships and raising the library's visibility. They often collaborate with the Friends Group and the Library Board on strategic planning and advocacy. The foundation provide input into the library's strategic plan and help fund initiatives that emerge from it. They support implementation but do not govern library operations. Part of being in community is sharing our joys and our sorrows with one another. We draw strength from celebrating the joys of each other's lives and lending support, comfort, and care when we experience one of life's many sorrows. We offer you two different ways to express the joys and sorrows that may be on your heart this morning, spoken and unspoken. If you would like to share a spoken joy or sorrow, I will ask you to come forward to the microphone first, or you may raise your hand and a microphone will be brought to you. Once the spoken joys and sorrows are finished, you may come forward and light a candle to represent the unspoken joy or sorrow that is on your heart. Please remember that our service is being streamed online, so please be sure that any spoken joy or sorrow you share is one you are comfortable sharing with a wider community than just inside these walls with us this morning. Those that would like to share spoken joys or sorrows may come forward at this time.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Jody Spencer, she, hers. I want to share with you that we have a new grandchild, our son, William. You know him as Cody, and his wife, Louisa, had a little girl, Sylvia Elizabeth, at the end of April. Thank you.
Good morning. I'm Greta Monroe, and I use she, her pronouns. I come before our community today to share an important sorrow regarding recent federal directives from the White House. While navigating shifts in our national landscape can feel challenging, our strength has always been our unity, and our focus remains firmly on hope and resilience. Recently, a new federal counterterrorism directive has issued that shifts law enforcement investigation resources toward the surveillance of certain advocacy groups, including the transgender community, using harsh and vague language like elimination, and broadly linking opposition to the government under the umbrella of Antifa. The directive is so vague that one could read into it that a transgender individual is now suspicious of being a terrorist. It is vital to clarify that this directive shifts investigative resources, but it does not change the actual text of the federal law. While seeing our community reframed through a lens of suspicion is concerning, a shift in bureaucratic focus does not diminish our legal rights or our inherent dignity. Instead of letting fear pull the ground from under us, let this be a moment that reinforces our commitment to one another. We are navigating the loss of a simplest sense of security, but we are choosing to focus on the power of community. We refuse to be defined by surveillance or suspicion. Together, we will continue to stand in solidarity, ensuring our space remains a sanctuary of peace, dignity, and forward-looking hope. We are not targets, we are people, and our collective resilience will guide us through.
Hi, I'm Melissa Warner, she and her. And my continuing joy is what's going on in Colonial Park, because yesterday I saw a bald eagle there. And that's why we do what we do, to create an ecosystem that supports a wide variety of plants and animals that belong. But you're part of that, because what you did in January was support our group with the shared plate. And I want to tell you specifically how that money got used, because I think it's really cool. You may know of, in fact, I think we have supported the Great Lakes Community Conservation Corps. So we were able to use that money to have the veterans group of the Great Lakes Community Conservation Corps come and do a lot of invasives removal. So your money worked twice.
Now, if you would like to light a candle for an unspoken joy or sorrow, you may come forward at this time. Thank you, Gregory. There is a love holding us always. May we rest in that love. Amen, and blessed be. All are invited to join me in singing There Is a Love. The words are in your order of service.
There are two readings this morning to share with you. The first are excerpts from the book of Esther in the Hebrew Scriptures from chapter 4. And let me set the context for you a little bit. This is around 400 or 450 BCE, and it takes place in the city of Susa in the Persian Empire. The Israelites, the Jews, had been conquered by this people, and many had been sent into Babylon as exiles, many of the leaders. But then Cyrus the Great, Cyrus the king of Persia, had come down out of the hills and defeated the Babylonians and told the Jews they could go home. Cyrus is one of the few good guys in history. This is like 600 BC, and he creates a multi-ethnic, multi-religious empire with rule of law. It's like way ahead of his time, right? But time goes by, and Cyrus's descendants and so forth and so forth. Esther is married to the king of Susa, the king of this place, and one of his wives, and she is Jewish. Her uncle Mordecai is the leader of the Jewish community, and an advisor to the king has convinced the king that the way to solve all of his political problems, and they are many, because there's corruption, and there's rising inflation, and there's trouble, and the advisor convinces him, I've got it, I have the solution, blame the Jews for all the problems. We'll blame the stranger, the foreigner who is in our land, and that'll take the heat off you for all of the issues. Does this sound familiar? Right. Same old story. So the king is listening to the advisor and is going to issue an edict or rule that all of the Jews have to have their property taken away, and they will not be able to have any power, and many of them will be killed. This is where the story begins. When Mordecai learned of all that had been done, he tore his clothes and put on sackcloth and ashes and went out into the city, wailing loudly and bitterly. But he went only as far as the king's gate, because no one clothed in sackcloth was allowed to enter it. In every province to which the edict and order of the king came, there was a great mourning among the Jews with fasting and weeping and wailing. Many lay in sackcloth and ashes. When Esther's eunuchs and female attendants came and told her about Mordecai, she was in great distress. She was secluded in the palace, and she didn't know about the edict and this new rule. But she sent clothes for him to put on instead of a sackcloth, but he would not accept them. Then Esther summoned Hatach, one of the king's eunuchs assigned to attend her, and ordered Hatach to find out what was troubling Mordecai and why. Hatach went back and reported to Esther that what Mordecai had said about the edict, and that she, Esther, should go to the king and convince him to change his mind. Then she instructed Hatach to say to Mordecai, all of the king's officials and the people in the royal provinces know that for any man or woman who approaches the king in the inner court without being summoned, the king has but one law, that they be put to death. unless the king extends the gold scepter to them and spares their lives. But 30 days have passed since I was called to go to the king. She's saying, how can you? I can't go. I haven't been asked to speak up. When Esther's words were reported to Mordecai, he sent back this answer to her: do not think that because you are in the king's house, you alone of all of us will escape. For if you remain silent at this time, relief and deliverance for us will arise from another place, but you and your father's family will perish. And who knows but that you have been made for such a time as this. The second reading is called Inhabiting the World by Michelle Mills, and it begins with a quotation from Rebecca Solnit's book, The Faraway Nearby. The bigness of the world is its redemption. Despair compresses you into a small space, and a depression is literally a hollow in the ground. To dig deeper into the self, to go underground, is sometimes necessary, but so is the other route of getting out of yourself into the larger world, into the openness in which you need not clutch your story and your troubles so tightly to your chest. And then Michelle Mills begins, and I'll begin by saying that this was written a year ago in March of 2025. So when she says a year and a half, think before that, so 2.5 years ago. In the past year and a half, I've been receiving daily emails from USA Jobs, the employment site of the federal government. I used to receive notices about a huge variety of interesting jobs with the U.S. Fish and Wildlife, CDC, the Veterans Administration, NOAA, USDA, EPA, Forestry Service, along with others. Now the only departments hiring are the Navy, Air Force, and Homeland Security. It strikes me how clearly this expresses this administration's worldview. If all you emphasize is war and defending and expelling, your only relationship with the world is fear and anger and aggression. That recognition stops me in my tracks. At any moment in our lives, we have a choice about how to inhabit the world. We can notice the child needing help, the wonder of salmon spawning in a river where they have not been witnessed in decades, the librarian feeding the curiosity of someone who wants to know about the history of country music or how to build a chicken coop. I love that you're supporting the library this month. That's great. When I put myself in the shoes of any person who approaches the world with anger and distrust, my body has a physical response. I feel claustrophobic and contracted, ready to spring out and destroy anything that comes close because everything is a threat. It feels tense and vigilant. The irony is that no matter how much control it gets, it will never feel safe. Its aggression makes it impossible to notice all the possibilities of beauty, kindness. That's not the way I want to inhabit the world. Sometimes I try to feel what it might be like from the other side. What if I were a salmon fighting my way upstream to lay eggs, or the huge sequoia that's grown up for a millennium, or the mushroom growing at the foot of the tree? Every moment, our breath is a powerful antidote to the disembodiment of fear and anger. It's a way to return to ourselves, an invitation to feel our body on the earth and inhale the beauty of existence, to allow that to infuse our very essence, then pause in silent reverence, and then to exhale in sacred offering to all beings. This ends the readings. And before the sermon, I thought we might take a moment to practice that breath, to inhale the beauty of existence, and then to exhale in sacred offering to all beings. So if you wish to get yourself comfortable as you can, wherever you might be, and close your eyes if you want to. Take a breath to inhale the beauty and exhale as an offering. And we'll take a moment in silence to center yourself here. May the Spirit of love and life, known by many names and no name at all, be with us in this hour and in this day, in our journeys and our wanderings, in our love and our hope. Amen. Have you ever had a Sheila Ray lost in the woods moment? Have you had a time when you were so confident, you knew the way, you knew what to do, you felt competent and assured that the world was orderly, that as some of our forebears used to say, that you could rely on progress upward and onward forever, you knew the way, and then you found yourself in the woods lost? Have you had this moment, metaphorically or literally, perhaps? Right? Yeah. I have, that is for sure. And it is very disorienting. I've had these personal moments, like when parenting was harder than I thought, and isn't it almost always harder than we think it's going to be? Or when relationships fall apart, or you just can't get ahead, or little ones too, like when the home improvement project is baffling and I'm back at the hardware store again, lost in the woods. Lost in the woods. I've had a lot of this lost in the woods recently when I think about the world around us. When I read the news and I think, what? Have you had this feeling in the last year? As a liberal growing up at the end of the 20th century, what Francis Fukuyama called the end of history, I was taught that civil rights was won, and that the war was over and democracy was victorious, and that the arc of the universe was almost at its destination. Did you learn something like this too? Yeah. And here we are. So maybe you're feeling a little Sheila Ray, lost in the woods. We were told certain things, and here we are, and those things like fog evaporate. We can't get a handle. Now, some folks, they have been lost in the woods before. They have no illusions, no sense of inevitable progress in their bones and in their blood, in their history and in their present. They know that damn well sometimes the way is blocked. Sometimes you are misled, and they will destroy you if they can, and sometimes they can. There are no illusions. You knew to carry a map and a compass, but even that might not save you. And maybe some who have been lost before or who know the way, they're like Sheila Ray's little sister, Louise, who knows how to help, who knows the way. She had become made for such a time as this. Here's my fundamental conviction: we can become made for such a time as this if we aren't already. We can meet this moment. We can become more mature, more wise, more strategic, more brave, not through overconfidence or naive nonsense or through what some call the audacity, but through depth, through spiritual practice, through deeper courage of heart, through letting go and becoming, through transformation and love. We can become made for such a time as this. Esther had to summon her courage to be shaped by her faith and her family and her conscience, and through practice to then go from this story before the ruler, the king, and ask for her people to be protected. Like she said, the penalty for going without being summoned was death, but she went anyway. She was terrified that such asking would destroy her, but she came to know that she was made for such a time as this, that what she had learned and done and loved had made her ready for that moment. And she succeeded. She persuaded him, and he turned away from that advisor, but it could have been otherwise. It's important to know it could have been otherwise. Back in January, I was in Minneapolis with hundreds of other Unitarian Universalists and other clergy and religious leaders. We gathered to be in solidarity with those who had become made for such a time as this, who had learned in a few short weeks, drawing on their faith and their practice and their neighbors and their history of organizing from 2020 and before. They had met the moment. They had summoned their courage and their compassion and reminded us that people are more than power, that we can say no, that we keep each other safe, that resistance matters, and yes, that cold is a state of mind. It was 20 or 30 below while we marched for 3 hours through the city. No inappropriate weather, just inappropriate clothing, right? Isn't that what we say? Folks had met the moment. They had met the moment, and it was decisive. It was a break in the facade of we can do anything and you can't stop us. It was decisive. It was powerful. And I was inspired, enraged that folks there needed to organize their neighbors and do all of this work that we all need to, but reminded that we can become equal to this moment and that it matters that we do so. We're using the phrase meet the moment at the UUA to talk about this together, and the first question that we ask is, what is the moment? My own personal sense is that there are three massive forces that are shaping this moment for Unitarian Universalist congregations and our leaders. The first big trend is, fascism. A year ago, I would have said that my significant critique of too many so-called opposition politicians and supposedly independent institutions was that they were sleepwalking through the woods, convinced that all would be fine, that history was over, and this was just a blip. But I don't think very many people think that anymore. Some people still do. Those who didn't already know mostly are now realizing that Cassandra was right and that we must rally for this moment, that we are lost in the woods, and that we need to turn to those who know the way home, because they are among us, the scholars and the activists of mass resistance, and they tell us what to do. Build community, know one another, care for each other, get ready. Which takes me to the second thread, second big trend: loneliness, isolation, and declining habits of volunteerism and participation and connection. This is not new, but every year it seems to get worse. We've been bowling alone for a while now. People are lonely. Making friends as adults is really hard. There are less clubs and less activities, and people are busy. They sit in their cars commuting and watch shows and post about it, but connect with other people, not as much. I read once that the real miracle of Jesus was not him walking on water or healing the sick or even rising from the dead. It's that a man in his 30s had 12 friends. 11, I guess, but still. There are, though, shoots of new life. Shoots of new life. The young mom who says, let's hang out at the playground at school pickup and talk to each other. The single professional who overcomes social anxiety and goes to trivia night. The empty nesters who move to a retirement community and start going to all the things that are being offered there. The teenager who gets off their phone and plays Dungeons and Dragons with their friends on a Sunday afternoon. And the folks who show up at church, wondering, hoping, will someone here know me? Will they guide me when I'm lost in the woods? Will they care about me? The third thing is spiritual hunger. It is openness. It is a longing for more than this, for meaning, for something larger than material existence, a longing to inhabit the world, to be alive, to drink deeply from the well, to dance and read poetry and get off the hamster wheel, to love the earth and all its creatures. There is this longing, this heart desire. It started before COVID. It's as old as human history, but I have seen it even more since, a sense that we want more authentic, more real, more loving, more alive for ourselves and for our children. That this day-to-day, mundane, obey in advance, punch the card and move on, that this life isn't what we are for. It isn't what we are made for. So these three trends present for us, the inheritors of the great liberal and liberating tradition of love and courage and justice, they present for us a moment of opportunity and of peril, a time to be brave. Not foolish, but honestly brave, to shape ourselves for this moment. We can't stay on the surface. We cannot perform community or authenticity. We have to go into the woods and get lost together, to be vulnerable and real, to become known for our love, to inhabit the world. To meet this moment, our congregations and our leaders will need to have a little Sheila Ray and a little Louise. We need to admit that we're lost and we don't know the way. I'm not impressed with folks who tell us the one magic trick or the one essential thing that will solve all of our problems. It doesn't work like that. We need to be curious. We need to throw away the old map. It was never the territory anyway. Now is the time to meet the moment, to speak out against fascism, to be an antidote to loneliness, to feed spiritual hunger. Now is the time. Folks are coming to many of our congregations right now because they hunger. They hunger for connection, for meaning, and for a base from which to resist the powers of hatred and division and evil. Is that why you're here? The real reason? Because you hunger for something more? We hunger to inhabit the world, to turn away from aggressive reaction to something deeper, something beautiful, something worth living for. And the question is this: are we offering a way of life that will honor and meet and nourish that hunger in this time? Community that's real, struggle that's sustainable, love that's alive? Are we willing to go where there is no map and we will get lost? Are we willing to follow another home? Are we willing to cross the borders that people in power want us to make between each other? Are we willing to keep loving boldly when we don't know how it will turn out? Are we willing to meet our neighbors where they are and suspend our confidence that we already have all of the answers? Friends, we're going to talk today after the service about where you are as a congregation and what's next. But I have this sense, and maybe I'm wrong, but I have a sense that you were a people who knew the way for a long time. And then things changed. But you thought you still knew the way, and then all the ways and the paths got moved on you. You've been lost for a little bit, wandering and wondering and trying to answer the call of love as best you can, but unsure of how and where and with whom. And I have a sense, perhaps, that you are now able to say, oh, we're lost. We're lost. And perhaps to say, Louise isn't someone else who's coming to lead us back home, but we have to find the Louise within us, to find a new way, to answer the call of love now for who you are now, not who you will become, but not who you were. Louise is in you, and only by being brave enough to say, we're lost, do you find a new way. It is a time for bravery, strategic, accountable, faithful bravery. It's a time for generosity, deep and transformative and multifaceted generosity. It is a time for curiosity of our own heart, about our neighbors, about what is growing still under the earth. And it is a time for love, to answer its call, to be summoned by its demand, to know there's always more, to choose to bless the world. This is the good news. We are not already made for such a time as this, but we can become made for such a time as this. We can practice the habits of inhabiting the world. We can love more than power or being right. We can open our hearts and our doors and try new things. We can do this because love, capital L, love, is, thank God, larger than we can imagine, larger than our past and larger than our fears and larger than any one of us by ourselves. This is the good news. There is enough love for everyone. It flows there right under the surface. The well is not dry. There is more love. And we have a choice: to bless or curse the world, to flee from or inhabit the world, to get lost so we might get found, or pretend we already know where we are going, to go it alone or to go it together. It's my prayer that we meet this moment with wise bravery, with open hearts and with water for parched souls. This is the way. There is no other way. But love and community and authentic longing, named aloud in courage, there is no other way. This is the good news. The love we need to meet this moment is reliable and powerful and surprising and not in our control, and enough. It's more than enough. When we get lost and admit that we need more than us, more than we already think we know, that love will come and lead us home. May it be so. Amen and Ashe. Let's sing together number 95 in your gray hymnal, There Is More Love. This song is an African American spiritual that folks would sing as they fled slavery to the north. So it is a song that needs your full voice to honor the tradition that it comes from. So I invite you to rise in body and or spirit and sing out loudly, There Is More Love, number 95. The words for our benediction from the poet Denise Levertov. Don't say, there is no water to solace the dryness at our hearts. I have seen the fountain springing out of the rock wall and you drinking there, and I too, before your eyes, found footholds and climbed to drink the cool water. The woman of that place, shading her eyes, frowned as she watched, but not because she grudged the water, only because she was waiting to see we drank our fill and were refreshed. Don't say there is no water. The fountain is there among its scalloped green and gray stones, and it is still there and always there, with its quiet song and strange power to spring in us up and through the rock.
I'm Gregory Mason. It's time for some announcements. We're going to start with Christina Mondragon, and then we'll hear from Suzanne Landis.
Hello, everyone. My name is Christina Mondragon. I'm on the Board of Trustees and I'm the treasurer still. And I'm talking today from the search committee, which I'm on. Today's announcement relates to the search for the new minister. Several weeks ago, I believe, we announced that we did not have a match this year. And so we are suspending the search for a new minister. We're moving into now a lay-led church. I'm excited about this because we will be drawing from all of the creative souls in this congregation. So moving on, which we will be discussing later this morning after coffee hour or during coffee hour, there's a lot to look forward to at this time for our future. Thank you.
On Sunday, May 31st, we are going to have a special chance to mingle with First Presbyterian and learn more about each other, and that day is going to unfold this way. From 9:30 to 10 o'clock, First Presbyterian is going to have their service, but then from 10:15 to 11:15, we're going to have a combined fellowship time with them. That will include some things that we can talk about, and of course, lots of food, which Pat Badger said treats are mightily anticipated and warmly welcomed, as always. And Joyce Fireball would be the person to talk to about signing up to bring a treat. And then after the combined fellowship at 11:15, we will then move into the sanctuary for our service, which will be an abbreviated service from 11:30 to 12 o'clock. And that's how this special Sunday is going to unfold. Thanks.
Thank you, Christina and Suzanne. I'll just add to Suzanne's announcement. Joyce is looking for 6 to 8 people to sign up for coffee hour because of the larger group. So the sign-up sheet will be in Erman Hall on the table. Paper raise right orders are due today. See me if you need a form, and give me any completed forms to me. Annual reports from committee chairs for the 25-26 year are being requested by May 22nd. Contact the church office if you need a copy of last year's report. May 25th is the deadline to get news, information, and community events into the church office for the June Unifier. On Saturday, June 13th at 11 a.m., the 8th Principal Committee is walking in the 4th Annual Juneteenth Day Parade. We are inviting all of you to participate in this historical event in one of two ways: by walking in the parade or by watching the parade. And a group will meet at Old Winslow School and cheer on the OBUUC walkers. Bring a chair. So whether you want to be a walker or a watcher, this is a fun way to show your support for the African American community in Racine. Contact Roseanne Mason for more information. Our annual congregational meeting will be on Sunday, June 14th at 10 a.m. There will be no service that day, and it will be a potluck. Weed Out Racine has invited us to enjoy a stroll on the portion of the Root River Pathway in Colonial Park, designated a natural area by the Southeast Wisconsin Regional Planning Commission. This will be on Sunday, June 14th. See firsthand how our offertory outreach Share the Plate contribution is restoring Lower Colonial Park after the devastation wrought by the emerald ash borer. Meet at the Colonial Park parking lot, which is at 2300 West High Street, by 1 p.m. Contact Melissa Warner for more information, and there will be a porta potty available. Olympia Brown is sponsoring Meeting the Moment workshops on June 18th and 19th. Join us for a 2-day exploration of abolition, past and present. Modern-day slavery is thriving in our prisons and communities. Tour the Underground Railroad sites with Keith Coleman. Hear a new idea for the correctional system, and then learn how to be a true ally to people impacted by the prison system. Day 2 starts with meditating with people who work with people in prison, and then brainstorming what needs to happen in our diverse communities, make a plan, and get support on making it happen. We need 10 hosts to offer a room for one night on Thursday, June 18th for incoming UU guests attending the workshops. Event flyers and sign-up sheets to attend the workshops or to host a house guest are in Erman Hall. Contact Nancy Gibson or Diane Lang with questions or for more information. Sunday, August 16th, this is looking ahead, will be our annual church picnic at 11 a.m. in Sanders Park. And if you didn't know, OBUUC Diners Circle is back. Do you like creating community and eating? Diners Circle is one of the easiest ways to do that. What is Diners Circle? People who get together a few times a year in different groups, hosting once and being a guest 3 times. There is all kinds of information that may answer any and all of your questions in this month's Unifier email. Otherwise, contact Patty Riemann. First Presbyterian is looking for volunteers to help with the following: their food pantry, the buildings and grounds crew, office help, and music and more. I've printed some flyers, and they're over there on the table if you're interested. And while we're talking about First Presbyterian, Reverend Darren Utley's son Joshua has just graduated from high school, and there is going to be a graduation open house here on May 23rd, which is a Saturday, from 2 to 5, and everyone is invited. Thank you to our volunteers. I think I got one more here. Nah, you know about that one, so it's all right. Thank you to our volunteers today. Our ushers, Andrea Bumpers and Steve Hawk. Our coffee hour hosts, Ruth Bradford Johnson, David Ruskowski, and Carol Pinnock. Our Zoom coffee hour host, Mary Graham. Our cell phone monitor, Greta Monroe. And our sound and camera volunteers, Kaylin and Jen Simpkins. That's all for announcements. Please join us for coffee hour in Erman Hall. For those on YouTube, log into Zoom for your coffee hour. The link is in today's email. And for those that will be joining Reverend Dr. Johnson for the forum and conversation, get a cup of coffee and get something to eat and go right on ahead into the chapel. That's all.